UK Prime Minister Liz Truss is fighting for her political life. Her economic stimulus package, which sought to cut a number of taxes, but would mean the British government having to borrow more money to take care of its budget expenditure obligations, didn't go down well. Markets shuddered and the pound plunged. As a consequence, the central bank there had to stump up cash to buy bonds to stave off a further decline of the pound. Truss's finance minister, Kwasi Kwarteng, was the fall guy as he was abruptly called away from the IMF finance meetings in Washington to be fired upon his arrival. While the pound has since been stabilised and the controversial mini-budget has largely been reversed, the opposition party, that is the Labour Party, and members of Parliament from within the Conservative Party are calling for Liz Truss political head. Well, to discuss the lessons that can be learned from this most unfortunate episode, I'm joined by Dr. Adrian Saville. He's an economics professor at GIBS. Thanks very much for joining us, Adrian. Who would have thought that we'd see this level of drama in what we'd usually describe as a mature economy that has established processes around policy formulation and consultation?
No, it's an extraordinary sequence of events, and I think it can be explained to some extent by the politics having got a long way ahead of the economics, that the politics sprinted out of the blocks with Liz Truss's appointment. There were some dramatic policy moves under Kwasi Kwarteng that had not been anticipated by the wider body politic, and certainly not by markets. And there's a saying from the Republican Senator Stephen Bloom, who says economics is to politics what gravity is to jumping. And I think the economics here has really pushed through and pulled the policy announcements out, so that what we've seen over the course of the last couple of, or over the last week, well, indeed it's Friday, is a spectacular about turn in policy. This was preceded by already sinking confidence in Liz Truss's government, and events of the last day, which includes the resignation of Suella Braverman, has put this government into crisis. Yeah.
So Liz Truss got rid of her finance minister, or asked him to write a resignation letter. But the question that many are asking was, why didn't she take accountability alongside with him? I mean, she was trumpeting her tax cut ideas even before he made the formal announcement.
Look, I think Kwasi Kwarteng was thrown under the bus. He was going to be the fall guy. Suella Braverman has put, as part of her reason for resignation, was that Liz Truss did not take responsibility for her mistake. But just take a step back from the here and now drama and all the speculation whether Liz Truss might last longer than a lettuce. Take a step back from the immediate drama and just digest that in the space of 4 months, the UK has had 4 chancellors of the exchequer, 4 ministers of finance in the space of 4 months. This is an incredible number. Rishi Sunak until July, then Nadhim Zahawi, then Kwasi Kwarteng, that was a little over a month, and Jeremy Hunt since Friday for, as you put it, a mature economy. This is an extraordinary sequence of events.
So, I mean, it really does look as though the British Prime Minister is not going to make it. We understand that she's having high-level meetings with very senior Conservative MPs as we speak, and this is a meeting that was not scheduled. So what lessons do you think South Africa and other nations can draw from this premiership, especially around the issue of policy and the consistency thereof?
There's no delight in failure, and to see an economy of the size, the maturity, the stability of the UK be put into crisis really is it's tragic, because so much of this was avoidable. And I think that we can date it, the origins of this, to Boris Johnson. that's where the roots of the crisis originate. And there is an uncanny parallel with South Africa that we have not seen the accountability for spectacular policy missteps and mistakes. It's interesting to also draw comparisons between the accountability that the UK government is being held to and the relative, and I would venture, absence of accountability that has been the case in South Africa, where for a long time, and in conversations you and I have had over many years, my suggestion has been South Africa has had spectacular policy missteps, and to date we see very little accountability for an economy that has grown effectively 0% over the past decade, unemployment at 35%, youth unemployment at 65%. The Zondo Commission has pointed convincingly to evidence of state capture and the activities that sit behind that. Yet we sort of keep on with more of the same in the hope that more of the same will produce something different. This is in stark contrast to the UK, where there seems to be almost no appetite to tolerate this type of political mischief.
Indeed, indeed. Dr. Adrian Saville, thank you very much for your time as always and your insights. He's an economics professor at GIBS.